So today we are again here. In our previous lecture, we have completed what is DBMS, and now we will be starting with the terminologies what we are using in DBMS. Then relation, keys, and normalization. These are the basic terminologies which we will be using here. Then we are also going through the different concepts of primary, secondary, and foreign keys, which we through which we can save these data sets. So we have already completed the DBMS. What is DBMS, and then what kind of relationships are there? Now we will be moving towards the terminologies, different terminologies which we will be using in terms of this relational DBMS. The first thing is relation, second is keys, and third one is the normalization. Now, what is relation? Each record has a set of attributes. Okay, now this set of attribute is also known as a field. Okay, a range of possible values is defined for each field. Each record has a set of attributes. Now this attribute is also known as fields. A range of possible values is defined for each field. Okay, records for each type of form a table or a relation. Then the degree of the relation is the number of attributes in a table. Okay, for example, one column table is unary. Two type of columns, if there, it is called as binary relation. And if there are more than two columns, then it called as n-ray of n-ray means tertiary, four times relation table. Okay, so that kind of things can be. So the degree of relation is the number of attributes in a table or number of column. For example, I have told you, if we have one column, it can be called as unary relation. If there are two column, it can be called as binary. If it has three number of columns, then tertiary. Okay, so this is how we get a relation. Now, key of a relation. A key of a relation is a subset of attribute. A key of a relation is a subset of attribute. Okay, this we will be seeing in here also. Now, you see the relation or a table. ID has a link with this, name has a link with this. So this is a attribute fields different, or this is a complete row, and the row is having the complete information about the Rajesh, or this first row is having the complete information about Shashank, and his number is ye. So each and every column has the different what do you call attribute, and then the row is having a complete information about a particular thing. Okay, so a key of a relation is a subset of attribute. The value of key is unique for every row. Okay, this I have told you. Like this complete row is stands for Shashank. This complete row is stands for KK. The complete row is stands for Rajesh. Okay. Then the third thing which you need to see is an attribute of a relation is said to be a prime if it is one of the key in the database. All other attributes are termed as non-prime. Prime means primary relationship key. So the only one field can be a primary, and the other field can be the non-primary things or secondary keys. Okay, so if you have multiple table, so primary key of this thing may be a secondary key in the other one. Okay, so this is the relation or a table. We have tried to tell you. We were also talking about unary, binary, tertiary, or ternary, or quaternary. Yes, so that depends on the number of the columns. Like this table has only one, so this can be called as unary. This is two, this can be called as binary. This has three columns, ternary, quaternary. Okay, likewise. Then most important note for DBMS is that the first design of a large database will always be wrong, and therefore in case of DBMS it is recommended to design the database so that it requires minimum efforts for the minimum. ठीक है? So first is कि if there is a large data set, there are chances of you know mistakes, but if there is a small or minimum data sets, so it can be modified properly. Then comes the third term, that is normalization. What is normalization? Normalization of a relational data model is concerned with the finding of simplest structure for a given set of data set. Okay, so normalization क्या है? When we are talking about a relational data model, okay, then it is a concern of finding a simplest way to structure for the given data set. Now, this deals with the dependency between attributes and try to avoid the loss of general information when records are inserted or deleted. Okay, when we go for the normalization, everybody wants that the information needed should be there and rest should be removed. But while we are inserting, okay, हो सकता है कि there are records which needs to be by the examination section, there are details of a same student needs by the placement section. Okay, so now the examination section may be requiring the columns which are having mark information about the different internal and external examination. But here, while we are talking about the placement cell, he may require the compiled marks of a student and the extra activities or extra internships or extra things what a student has done. So while they are inserting or deleting, so because the department has a compiled information, so while they will be selecting the things for themselves or for the same data to be used by the examination or the placement cell, they need to be very careful while inserting or deleting a particular information about a student. Okay, so that is you need to take care. Now, what are the goals? Why we need this normalization thing? First thing, to eliminate certain kinds of redundancy. Okay, or like if I don't read it, need a particular column in my table, then it is just a wastage of column. It will just a wastage of the storage capacity which my computer can have. So, or in sometimes there will be a redundancy also. Okay, so to eliminate those kind of errors, we need a normalization of the data sets. Second, to avoid certain update anomalies. Okay, there may be some anomalies. What I told you, ki if there is some extra data, so we need to either delete it, or maybe some student has some maybe gone through a revel and he may increase or decrease in their number. So whatever information we are having, maybe it has some anomalies, so we need to update that information. Okay, so that is the again one goal of normalization, where we are avoiding certain update anomalies. Okay, then good representation of real world. Okay, so normalization also helps in the good representation of the real world. Okay, while we are collecting, if I tell you in terms of remote sensing or GIS, while or a map making concept, so we need to normalize the data, because whatever we are collecting from the real world, it is not possible to map all the things which we have collected. So we need to normalize, we need to set for the priorities of the work, or the things which we are going to represent, and based on that we normalize the data, and then we can go for a good representation. Then the other thing is simplify the enforcement of database integrity. Okay, it also simplify the enforcement of database integration. Then the database normalization, a few terms. While we are going for data normalization, we must know some terminologies where we are talking about in the previous slides also: entity, primary key, relationship. Okay, this also we have studied that a point can have one to one relationship, a point may have one to many, or many points have maybe relation with the many points. So what kind of relationship is there, that also we have to know. Then foreign key concept and entity diagram product, a relationship diagram. So first we will study what is entity. Okay, so these terminology: entity, primary key, relationship, and foreign key, and an ER diagram. Also, it is called as ER relationship. Okay, so first we'll see what is entity. Now, this is a general name for the information that is to be stored in a single table. Entity is a general name for an information that has to be stored in a single table. Okay, for example, we are storing a student information in a table. Then student would be a entity. Okay, the student entity is contained or composed of several bits of information. Okay, so student can have different entity as far as his name is concerned, father name is concerned, mother name is concerned. Okay, so a lot many information can be stored. Okay, so student would be an entity. Primary key, what is primary key? Okay, a primary key is a uniquely identifies the a raw data found within a table. Okay, a primary key is a key which uniquely defines a row of data found within a table. Okay, a complete column can be called as a primary key, where uniquely we are identifying a information. Maybe it is related to a unique ID, like if you are, we have a table of employees, so we have tried to give a primary key where we have enrolled a primary key as a employee ID. Okay, so the complete IDs, the column which is having the unique IDs of the employees, that can be called as a primary key. Okay, example, in a school system, the roll number of a student would be a primary key for each student table, since an ID would be uniquely identify each student. Same thing I have told you that you can take a, if it is a student, in your case you can have a SID as a unique student is allotted with a unique ID. There may be uh, five student who has a Rahul. How will you identify? But each Rahul will have a different SID. Okay, there may be a students named as Shruti, so I have a different email ID, but the another Shruti has a different employee ID. So based on that, so this can be a primary key. Then relationship, one to one, like one student can be allotted with a single ID. Okay, but one student may have a relationship between many courses with the same ID. Okay, so Rahul may study maths, Rahul may study geoscience, and Rahul may study digital image processing, but his SID will be allotted only one. So this ID may be related with the many subjects. Okay, so that is called as one to many. Then comes many to many. Okay, now geoscience class can be connected with many students, and many students can be collected with different classes. Okay, so that is called as many to many relationship. Then comes the foreign key concept. A foreign key forms on the basis of a one to many relationships between two tables. The foreign key can be found within a table M and maps to be my primary key found in table 1. ठीक है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल वी हैव मल्टीपल टेबल्स. सो वन, if the there are many objects on the basis of which we can connect these things, or you can say one to many relationships is if there between two tables, then we may need a foreign key. One can be called as primary key, the another can be called as the foreign key. To illustrate a primary key in a professor table would be introduced as a foreign key within a class entity, since it would be necessary to map a particular professor to several classes. Okay, so for example, here we are quoting an example of a professor and a class. A professor may be a primary key in a professor's table, okay? But it can be a secondary key in a student table because he may be taking many classes for many students. Okay, so in that case, he will be a foreign key. Clear? Then we have a functional dependencies. Okay, now what is this functional dependencies? Functional dependencies are used to specify a formal measures for goodness of a relationship, relational designs. Okay, so functional dependencies are what? They are basically used or specify the measures for a goodness of a relational design. Functional dependencies and keys are used to define a normal forms of the relations and are constraints that are derived from meaning and interrelationships of the data attributes. So functional dependencies, what they are used for specifying a measure for goodness of a relational design. Now FDs and keys are also defined as a normal forms of the relations. Then FDs are constants that are derived from the meaning and the interrelationships of the attributes. Now the functional dependency definition, what it can be: a set of attributes X functionally to determine another set of attributes, specifies a constant on the relation. FDs are constants that are derived from the meaning and interrelationships between the data attributes. Okay, so FDs, they are the constants and derived from the meaning and interrelationship between attributes. Now, example of normalization. Land, there is a land system which is coded as A, B, C, D, E. Okay, A stand for loamy soil, where erodibility is this. B stand for sandy loam, where erodibility is this. So there is a problem in this relation. Okay, it is clear that that the soil type is uniquely determined by erodibility. As soon as the row D is deleted, one of the relation, that is loam and erodibility, is lost. It would be better to construct the relation in the following manner. Okay, when we are talking about normalization, it is better that we can have two tables where the A is denoting the uh, soil type and B is talking about the erodibility. Because if you see here, loamy sand and loamy sand, it is twice came, and then the loamy and then yeah, thrice it came. Taken a soil type where the erodibility is concerned 0.1010. Here, what we land system A, B, because here we have tried to tell about the five systems. Okay, whereas in three systems, okay, B, sorry, A, C, and D, E. Okay, here the soil type is same. So if we divide this table into two systems, like one table is denoting this land system, the second one is the erodibility. So we can easily tell about that all these systems are having this kind of soil, whereas if you go to the soil type, they have this much of erodibility. So wherever there will be a loamy soil, whether it is A, E, or maybe if you are concentrating about more land systems, so wherever there is a land loamy sand, it will be having a erodibility of this much. Sandy loam, it will be having this much, and the loam, it will be having this much. Okay, then the anomalies in the database designs. First is related to the anomaly, which is related to the insertion. Second one is deletion, and third one is modification. So this kind of anomalies may arrive in database design. One is related to the insertion, deletion, and modification. Now, first we will go with the updation. Okay, updation anomalies. Okay, so undesired side effects that occur when performing insertion, modification, or deletion operation on badly designed relational database. For example, here you can see we have a table which is representing a department info in the employees table cause problem. Okay, so this is a table where the representing department in the employees info in the employees table can be a problem. Department, what is a department? So modification, when the manager of the department changes, have to change many values. If we are not careful, then database may have some inaccuracies or inconsistencies, you can say. There is no easy way to get out the database to ensure that the department has only one manager and only one name. Okay, so deletion, insertion. So earlier the table was this. Okay, now the anomalies continues related to the deletion and insertion. So illustration of anomalies. Suppose that we have a new course called as disaster management. We cannot add into this table until somebody register for this course. Okay, so again we have deleted the third line of the table information of SCO3 course would be lost. Then again, suppose the course fee of GIS goes up, okay, then we have to modify two rows. Yes, okay. So we have to make as many as modifications. So what is the solution? Okay, so suppose illustration of the alumni, can we want to add something, or can like we want to add one course? What is the way out? If we want to update this GIS piece of this, how we can do that? And if again we want to do some modification in some course, what we can do? So solution is that we have to split it into the two parts. One is having the student I and courses, and the other one is having the course fee. Okay, we can simply make a code, we can add here, and we can also add here as a course fee. Okay, we can do a natural join to get the original table, plus we don't have to insert or delete or the modification anomalies. Okay, so the three normal forms. The first form is, the first rule is called as elimination of the repeated groups of the data through criteria of separate tables of the related data. Okay, so what we have done here, we have to separate it. Then the second normal form is elimination of redundant data sets. Here we have done that. We have only entered GIS for the ones. Okay, so second we have to eliminate the redundant data sets. The third one is seek to eliminate all attribute a form table that are not directly dependent on the primary key. Okay, then illustration of the first normal, that consider the following problem. Okay, are there only three normal forms? No, there are more normal forms. Okay, so then we have relations, we have tuples, we have attributes. Okay, so book A, book borrow, and student. Okay, so here if we want to have information about books, we have to go for this 1 2 3. If we want to borrow a book, 1 3 4, then we have 11 students who have borrowed on 21. So everything we had to make it in such a way where we can go for analysis in the proper way. Now we need to define a relation schema if you need to go. Okay, so provide the name of the relation, indicate the attributes it will have, define what domain of each attribute is there, like book, book name or ID number, title of the book in string. So this all we have to do in your DBMS. Now this detail you will be studying in your DBMS paper, but in GIS, as far as this non-spatial data is concerned, you should know that what are the different types of non-spatial data sets. And like we have studied the hierarchical networking, there the relational data was there. So basics of relational in terms of their different keys, different normalization structures, different structures you should know. Okay, so but in very detail you will be studying all these things in your this thing, your database management system paper, which uh, is taken by, I think, Dr. Varun. And then advantages of the DBMS. Okay, now as we have studied that we have networking, we have hierarchical, we have database, we have object oriented programming. Okay, relational database also. Okay, so what are the advantages of this DBMS? We can store and manipulate very large data set, as you have seen that through primary keys, secondary keys, we can link as many as tables. We can go for different relationship among the features, one to many, many to one. Okay, then the same data can be used by many users at the same time as data sharing process. And then define the integrity constant to achieve the data query language for flexible retrieval of data. We can go for indexing also. Backup and recovery functions to avoid the loss of data also available. Redundancy can be controlled. The self description of the data sets, security is also there. And then expert knowledge, high capital investment and overhead. So these are the advantages of the DBMS. Okay, it reduces the complexity. We have already studied it, how reduces the data redundancy or inconsistency, that also we have studied how. And then the control of data creation. Okay, excuse me. Excuse me. Then it reduce the development or maintenance cost also. Okay, it enhance the system flexibility, increase the access also. So these are the advantages of the DVMS. Now, using spatial and non-spatial to get just a minute, data together. Okay, now if you go through the definition part of GIS, there we are focusing on the integration of spatial and non-spatial data, its collection, its storage, its maintenance, its updation, manipulation and analysis. Okay, so here we are using spatial and non-spatial data in a singular platform. Okay, now what is geodatabase? Okay, whenever we are talking about DBMS, okay, we have completed our talks about DBMS. Now, as a GIS person, you must know what is geodatabase or geodatabase management or geodatabase models. Okay, so a geodatabase. What is a geodatabase? A geodatabase is a physical store of graphic information in terms of spatial attributes, metadata, and relationships inside a relational database management system, which is called as RDBMS. Okay, so in a geodatabase, we are able to store the geographic databases is a physical store of geographic information, spatial, non-spatial, metadata, and the relationships inside a relational database management system, RDBMS. Okay, so now what is RDBMS? Geodatabase is clear. Geodatabase is a geographic system where physically we stored graphical information which includes spatial, non-spatial, metadata, relationship inside a relational database management system, which is also known as RDBMS, relational database management system. It is a type of database in which the data can be spread across several tables that are together. Okay, data related to the tables are associated with the shared attributes. So in terms of relational database, many tables can be integrated with the help of different relations they are sharing. Any data elements can be found in database through the name of table, the attribute column, okay, name, and the attribute values that are uniquely identified by each row. Okay. In contrast to other database structure, an RDBMS requires few assumptions about how data is related and how it will be extracted from the database. As a result, data can be arranged in different combinations. Okay, so in brief, what we can say, ki in case of RDBMS, okay, it is a type of database where the data can be spread across several tables which are related together. Okay, so here the data in related tables are associated with their shared attributes, and every table has a relation with the another table. Okay, so the name of the table, okay, complete table, the column name, the attribute value that are uniquely identified by each row. Okay, now this contrast to other database structure, and RDBMS requires few things. Okay, now why and how geodatabase? All data, whether it is vector, raster, address, measures, CAD, etc., is stored together in a commercial off-the-shelf RDBMS. This means these organizations can have integrated database management system policy covering all the data, which can significantly simplify, support, and maintain the things and reduce costs. Okay, so geodatabase is a place where we can store all the data sets, whether it form of the data in a single umbrella. We have shape files, we have TIFF files, all the things we can have in a single geodatabase. Geodatabase also offers many advantages for GIS users. The range of functionality available is extensive, includes centralized data storage, support of advanced feature geometry, and more accurate data entry and editing through the use of subtypes, attribute domains, and validation rules. I told you in the previous lectures about the topology. So topology is also, we can create if the data is in the form of geodatabase. If the is it's not in the form of geodatabase, we cannot go to create any kind of topological functions. So geodatabase can be created and managed easily using the standard tools like ArcCatalog and ArcMap, which provides a simple tool to work with the geodatabases. This advanced feature also available in the user's demanding application requirements. So the geodatabase is also required for any kind of data sets nowadays we are using. Now the basic advantage of this geodatabase is that we are able to have access to all the forms of data set in a one umbrella, that is your geodatabase, whether it is raster, whether it is vector, whether it is tabular, whether it is other measured data sets or CADs, etc. Okay, then basic objects, because we create there of feature classes, feature data sets, and the non-spatial tables. The basic objects of a geodatabase is feature classes, feature data sets, and the non-spatial tables. Okay, then the complex object building on the basic object is topology, relationship classes, and the geometric relationships. If you see here, the basic concept is feature class dataset, feature classes, and the non-spatial dataset, which is also called as the tables. Okay. Now the complex object building on the basic objects. Now on this basic objects, we can go for the complex object building. Okay, now what are these? We can go for the topology creation, we can go for the geometric analysis, we can go for the relationship classes. Okay, getting it? So if we don't have geodatabases, we cannot go for these complex analysis. Firstly, we have to have this geodatabases, and based on those geodatabase, we can go for these complex building objects, which is also known as topology, relationship between the classes, and the various geometric analysis. Now, okay, so as I told you, we have feature classes. Feature classes includes the geographic features like point, line, polygons. Okay, here you can see point, line, and polygons. So here, in case of geodatabase, we create these entities or these feature classes inside it. Then the second one is feature data sets. Okay, this is the feature data sets. You can call this public water. Like in this, we need a fittings, which can be a point feature, tanks, which can again be a point feature, walls, this is again a point feature, water net junctions, then the line features. Okay, so this kind of things we can go with the feature classes and feature data sets. Then we have the tables, okay, which is also known as non-spatial attribute tables. Okay, you can see here, the this is a form here. Under this same data set, we are creating this roads, we are creating this analysis. Okay, we are also creating a table which will be looking like this in the. So here you can see we have created a table in which we have given an object ID, then the CFCC codes, and then the classification, what all are there. Okay, then the topology. This you have already studied in the previous lectures, that this is a mathematical relationship of calculation of a particular features, where we can go for the adjacency, coincidence, and the connectivity related studies, which we can also perform in the form of this GIS. Then the relationship classes also we need to study in this. There are three types of relation: one to one, one to many, and many to one. Okay, this we have already studied. Then we have two types of geodata sets. Again, the important thing to be known: personal and enterprise. Personal, which we create for our own self and our own types of information, but multi-user geodatabase. Okay, then the personal and multi-user. Now this detail we will be going through in the coming lectures, that what are the different types of geodatabase and how do we create geodatabases. With this, I will be completing my today's lecture, where we have studied what is geodatabase and what are the entities, different entities or different terminologies which you need to study for DBMS. Okay, with this, I will be completing my today's lecture. Okay, you all can now appear for your quiz through your LMS. Thank you very much.